What year is this? What year is this car?
2008.
Alright, cool. Cool, action. So today we'll be wrapping a 2008 Grand Cherokee. On this car we're going to do the roof satin black. So we already decontaminated the roof and wiped everything down for you guys beforehand because it was pretty dirty. There's still a few chips, like there's a couple in the front over here where the rocks were hitting it, so you can't really get rid of that. You just have to let the owner know that that's going to show through, unless they want to fix it, but this owner did not. So first step we're going to do is, since we already wiped everything down and decontaminated it, we are going to prep it by using some knifeless tape on the sunroof, as well as taping off. There's a little Bluetooth antenna, and sometimes you can take these antennas off while they're outside the car, but in this case you have to go through and take the headliner off, so it'll just be easier to cut around it. So first, I'm going to set some knifeless tape up. Knifeless tape, it has a filament, a fishing line filament in it. So basically what this is it cuts from underneath the vinyl. So you would install it and then cut underneath, and then I can peel some up and then we can get a close-up of this. So basically there's a filament inside the carrier, and what that does is, when you were to pull it, actually I can give you a little demo before. Let me grab some scissors so I can cut this. So I'll cut a little piece out for you guys and then do it on the car. So just cut a little piece out. Oh, that one fell. Cool. Let's cut another piece out. So cut a little piece out for you guys. Put these scissors down. Okay, so what you do is you kind of just, you can make any sort of like curve or shape. This is a 3M design line, so it's meant to kind of contour the stuff. So you kind of put that down, you install over it, and then what you do is you have to have a little bit of a leading edge. They recommend, I think, 6 inches of knifeless to work with. So what you do is you peel it up, you grab hold onto it, so you basically pinch it, and then you pull. And then right there it releases from the tape, and then now you can just pull through, and it'll cut from underneath, and then when you're done you just have to undo it like that. Cool. So now that I just showed you guys why we're going to use it, how it works, why we are using it is because over here there is a sunroof, and there's some rubber wet weather sealing, and so we don't want to compromise it by cutting into it accidentally, because this is a white car, so we want to get in as deep as possible. So what we're going to do is lay the knifeless down on this rubber sealing and then cut it from underneath and then just tuck it in, so we won't have to lay a knife down on any of this rubber so we don't accidentally cut it. And then we also took off the roof rail. There was like some roof rack mounts. They were on the car, as well as some rubber weather stripping on the side that we took off, but it was just stuck with double-sided tape, so we'll have to just install that after we're done, as well as the roof racks. So now I'm done explaining. What we're about to do is I'm going to lay down some knifeless, and like I said, you want to get a leading edge. So in this case, we're just going to put it down in the middle of the sunroof and then work our way out. And now what we're going to do is just follow this up, and depending on what you're doing, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like in this case, we're tucking it in, so it doesn't have to be really straight, but and the reason why we're using design line is because of these corners over here. And if you guys are interested in buying this product, it will be in the description. So the easiest way to do it is just roll a little bit out at a time, put it down on the edge. You don't need to pull on it too hard, but just give it some tension so that it's nice and straight. Nice and tight on that edge too. So far so good. And we're going to set this down and walk over to the other side for you guys. And if you're going to do a roof, I'd recommend getting these a scaffolding like this so you could walk around instead of like a step ladder. It kind of limits your mobility a lot. I think it's kind of annoying after a while just moving it over and over again. So kind of just do a straight shot right here. And the roof of this is a little bit, the sunroof, the front of it's a little bit curved naturally. That's what. So we need to just curve it a little bit. But as you see, I unrolled it, unwinded it as far as I needed to, and I'm kind of just pulling it gently and then pushing it down with my other hand. Just guiding it. Cool. I got the corner right here. Almost worked all the way around. So now I'm probably gonna have to go to the other side to finish this up. But we'll get as far as we can over here. There we go. Let's hop over to the other side real quick and then finish laying this knifeless line down. And this knifeless is really not necessary. It's just something that I'm deciding to do today out of pure laziness, to be honest. Yesterday we had to finish up that full wrap that you guys saw in the last video. The customer really liked it. It was just a little mentally draining, so today I do not want to do anything too crazy difficult, and thankfully this roof is not too crazy difficult, so this is a really good modification that anyone could do to their car. You just need to go online, find yourself enough vinyl, any color you want really. The most popular color is black, but this is a really popular thing for a DIY person to do, is a roof wrap. And it looks great, as you'll see in the final product. So now we need to tape off, and sorry for stepping off the camera. I'm trying to get some tape so I can tape off the okay, so now we're going to tape off the antenna on top of the roof. I think that's what you call this thing. I don't know, but as I stated before, the reason why we're just doing this instead of removing it is on this car we'd have to remove the headliner, and that's too much. But so this is just I think this is a 1/8 inch tape, and we're going to use this for the where we're kind of like where the rubber meets the car, so we can be very precise. And then we're gonna step it up to like a 1-inch tape to finish masking it off. But this way, it protects the plastic piece from getting damaged, and then as well as protecting it, it will make it so the vinyl does not stick to it at all while we're installing it. So it'll make it a lot easier to work the material in. So let me just start taping that up. It'll probably be easier if you just rip off a little little strips. So I did one side there. Gonna have to go back around to the other side to finish it up. It's no problem. And if you guys are wanting to do a roof wrap by yourself, it'd be best to get a buddy to help you out so you don't have to keep walking back and forth and up and down. And it gets kind of annoying after a while, but especially when you're setting it up, it would definitely be beneficial to have 2 people helping you out. So I'd recommend that. So we're gonna tape that off right there. And you're not getting flush with it, you're just taping it off as close as possible, but you want to leave a little gap there so that when you're cutting it, you don't cut off the tape. And then it'll go behind the material and then it'll end up not wanting to stick down. So we're done taping that off. I mean, with the 1/8 inch tape, I think it is, or 1/16 inch. I do not really know. I think it's 1/16 inch. So now we're going to grab a 1-inch tape to finish it off. So this is so the green tape is a little more aggressive, and the reason why we're using the more aggressive tape for the 1/16 inch tape is it's just it'll stick on a little better. But for this 1-inch tape, we're just using blue painter's tape. We like the 1 inch. The 1.5 inch is too much. So now, since it'll make it a lot easier, since we masked it with the small tape in the beginning, it'll make it a lot easier to mask this off. So, oh, you got a little bit of tape right there. Peel that off. Just there we go. Cool. Fixed it up. And then we got do the front part. There we go. And then probably do the top part before I head over to the other side. And you want to make sure when you guys are doing a roof like this, if you notice, I have nothing on my wrist, like no jewelry or watches or wristbands, or like I have no belt on. Everything's super soft, because when you're leaning up against the car, you don't want to have any buttons or something that could scratch the vehicle when you're leaning up on it. So that's something that you want to consider. I mean, ideally you'd want to wear something. You wouldn't want to wear like watches or jewelry or anything like that when you're installing, because you're going to end up accidentally damaging the car, accidentally damaging the wrap, and then you're just going to have to start over. So that's something you should keep in mind. It's a good practice. Yeah, I will. So I'm going to hop on the other side now to finish up taping, and then, as I said before, the reason why we're taping this off is so that the vinyl does not stick to the antenna, and it makes it easier to work in, as well as protecting this piece of plastic from getting any cut marks on it. And if you're a little more experienced, you can actually, if you tape stuff off, you can just use the tape as something to cut on. You just have to use a pretty light pressure and kind of know how hard you need to push before you cut through it, and then you have that safety barrier, so you're not actually marking the plastic. Because to cut through the tape and the vinyl, you have to be pushing pretty hard with excessive force. So, especially if you have a nice sharp blade, which I'll kind of explain the blade in a little bit when we get to the cutting part, but that's pretty important. Depending on what blade you use, it could greatly affect the quality of the finish. So now that we're all taped up and there's nothing else really that I can see that we need to tape off, now what we will do is get to laying the material down. So this customer wants a satin black. So since this is all decontaminated, we'll just skip to the part where we're ready to install, but I can actually show you guys just a little technique to get it started. Oh yeah, and before we start, just give it one quick wipe down too. Cool. Oh no, I'll keep going. I just need to give it a quick wipe, and then I'm gonna grab the tack cloth too, so that I can wipe any dust off it. And okay, cool. So now this is just glass cleaner. It's just alcohol-based cleaner. So that's what you'd want to use, either a 70% isopropyl alcohol spray, or you'd want to use any cleaner that has any sort of isopropyl alcohol in it. That would be sufficient for decontaminating the panels, because you want to strip off any of the grease or any residue that's on it, which isopropyl alcohol does. So we'll spray half the roof down first, and I'll just go on the other side and wipe down the other half. Do a half at a time, since this roof is too big for me to do all at once. And you want to wipe the sunroof down too, and any surrounding areas, because if there's any dust on the surrounding areas, it's going to get onto the vinyl, well, underneath it, so it'll cause like bumps, and you don't want that. It'll look pretty bad. So give that a quick wipe down. And then now we're going to wipe this off with a tack cloth, just to get any dust off it that the microfiber can't pick up. Just going to give this a quick run down the whole roof. And you don't need to be pressing pretty hard. Like right now, it's just the weight of my hand. It's kind of just gliding on there. So now I'll just do the other side real quick. Cool. And like I said, the reason why this step is going so smoothly is because I cleaned off all of it before I even started filming, or even brought it into the garage, really, which is what you want to do, so that you don't have a bunch of dirt falling everywhere on the floor. And that brings me to another point too. If you're after you wipe everything off, before you start, vacuum the floor, sweep the floor. All that static that you get when you peel the backing off the vinyl, it'll cause any of the dust off the floor to shoot up and then get underneath the vinyl. So it'll affect your finish. Even if the panel is clean, like I said, anything that's surrounding it could get behind it and contaminate it. So now I'm just going to use the tack cloth really quick. Wipe off any dust. And you're not going to get everything, so don't be super anal. You just want to get as much as possible. And after you kind of wipe off the dust, you want to move kind of quickly to, like I said, minimize any dust that gets behind it. So, cool. Now, I will set up the piece. I'll show you guys how to set up a piece for the roof. So the piece is right here. Okay. So, this is a different day now, because when we got to getting the satin black that we already had at the shop, apparently it wasn't enough to do the roof, so we ordered more vinyl for the roof. Thankfully, the customer is on vacation, so he didn't even need the car, but yeah, that's why I'm in a different outfit. Zoom into the shirt. Nice. Okay, so, and the hat too. You get the hat. Okay. Anyway, so now we just had to re-wipe the roof to get basically any dust that settled over last night. And everything is still the way it was, so now we can just get to installing. So if you want to help me peel this off, Grayson, that'd be great. So first we just and it is a lot nicer in the shop today. When we were recording the first day, it was like 85 outside in the afternoon. So right now it's in the morning, and it's a little bit, it's not supposed to be as hot today. Even though we do have AC at the shop, it makes a big difference. So now we just peel it back, fold this backing paper under, and then just lay it down, and then just want to tack it down somewhere. Cool. Now, is there enough on that side to reach? Okay. Okay, cool. Now that we got that tack, the front tack, now all I have to do is, you can do this by yourself, you just have to do one side at a time, but with two people now, we can just pull this whole thing off. And since we're pulling the backing paper from underneath and we're not pulling the whole thing off at once, this prevents any dust that's settling to not get on the sticky side of the vinyl, the side that you're installing. So just peel it off. Keep going. And then once you kind of get most of it off, it's easiest to just have somebody go to the back of the car and peel the whole thing off, which Grayson will do right now. Okay, so as you see, now we need to glass out the roof, and if you kind of pulled back from underneath, if you pulled the backing paper from underneath the material, it's pretty much already, it's almost glassed out because of, it's already glassed out because when we're pulling the backing paper from underneath the material, it's providing tension the whole time we're pulling it out, so it's kind of already doing some of the work for us. So first what we're going to do is start from, you can pick any corner, but I like to just start from the corner closest to me. So what we're going to do is kind of just pick it up, pull. I'll show you guys how to pull from the front so you get a better angle actually. So probably Grayson needs to get the angle on this one. So if we're looking at this, you want to get up there? Yeah. So if we're looking at this corner right here, what you want to do is kind of just pick it up, and since this is 3M, it has a pressure sensitive adhesive, so it's not going to stick to anything unless you start pushing on it. So right now this whole panel is unstuck. I want to take the corner and basically pull like that away from the piece. So you're going to pull this way from here and here. So I'm going to take both hands and then pull a little bit until all the slack comes out, and then just tack it down right there. And right here, it doesn't matter if the material's messed up because I'm cutting this off anyway. This is all excess. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to come over here, do the back first real quick. on this side, it looks like we just need to work some of this material towards the front of the car just by, and the way I'm doing that is I'm pulling towards me, and then with my other hand I'm pulling to the right, so towards the front of the vehicle, which is towards the right. So I'm just doing that, and I'm not pulling very hard, nor am I heating the film at all. And you want to be careful not to pull too hard, because if you pull way too hard, then what will happen is there's going to be, here, if you want to get up here with me, Grayson. So right on here, like you see on this ridge right here, what will happen is if you're pulling too hard, there's going to be the adhesive, it's going to build up on this line right here, because how the adhesive works on the backing paper is it's like a, I mean, you can't see it because it's clear, but all this adhesive is like moving around freely. So if I pull on a harsh line like that, and I'm basically forcing it to bunch up on that line, so it's going to create like all these little tiny bumps, which are just adhesive bumps. So you want to avoid pulling too hard on any of these hard lines. So I'm pulling pretty gently, but I'm not even really pulling on a hard body line. So now we're going to get to the bottom. Almost done. Stick it. Cool. So cool. In a triangle, like you see how my hands are positioned, it's in a triangle. So now, we're just going to check how we did here. Cool, so the film is now all glassed out, and I should probably walk around to the other side for you guys so I can face the camera. So now, as you guys see, the film is all glassed out. There's no slack in the material, and this will allow us to have an easy install. And with this particular roof, there are these ridges, so you probably want to start with that, and then you want to be careful when you're going in between these ridges. You want to leave a channel for the air to escape, which I'll show you guys as I'm installing. But right now we have perfect glass, and all that's really left to cut out is this antenna, which we'll do before we even install anything. So let me just grab my knife down here, and then since I previously taped all of this off, I can just use gentle pressure and cut directly on the tape, and it won't cut through the actual tape and damage the plastic antenna. And you want to be careful when you're leaning on the car. You're not leaning on anything that you're going to install. It's going to make it harder for yourself. So right now, I'm just leaning on the side part. It's going to get cut off anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But, all right, so we're going to locate the antenna. And as you see right here is I'm trying to stick it on, but it's not really sticking very well. That's because we put tape on it. That's what you kind of want it to do. So first we kind of start off with a small hole, and I'm not even pressing. I'm just gliding. I'm gliding the knife on top of that. And now, let's see here, we just kind of start it. I guess I didn't cut through half of it, so I guess I'll just go back, cut that. So right now we just start off with a little hole, and then that way you could work your way out as you go. But right now you just start off with a little hole, and then you kind of identify what you need to do from this point, because you couldn't really see it from under the material. And it's just better to, you can always cut off more you can never really add on vinyl without making it look bad. So that's another thing too you guys want to keep in mind. Okay. So let's see here. Probably need to grab a heat gun real quick. Sorry about that. So grab one of these boys right here. Cool. Nice. So now what we're going to do is kind of work in the material around the antenna. And you want to do this part first instead of doing the whole roof and then doing the antenna, because it's a lot easier to work out anything out towards the edges instead of trying to fix up your mistake from all the way over here down towards where there's something obstructing the material from laying down perfectly. So you kind of just want to think about that when you're doing it. And so right now, what I'm going to do is put this down, and then kind of you want to, it's easier if you just throw the cord over your shoulder so it doesn't get in the way, but kind of want to heat it up a little bit. And right there I can see that I need to trim it even more, so that's what I'll do. So you just kind of want to feel out the material. So it looks like I need to trim it even more. And then right here on the back part, I can rest the heat gun because I'm not installing it. Right over here, this is going to get cut off. So that's the place where you can rest your tools. And it's not going to damage the customer's car because there's vinyl, obviously, in the way. But let's see. Okay. Cool. So like that. We're going to trim it out even more. Make sure this cut through. Click on it. Cool. So I got that going. Like I said, guys, it's really important to tape off the tape off this plastic part or any plastic pieces that are surrounding the panel, because this way, if this tape wasn't on here, I could not be doing this right now. You would mess up the plastic really bad. And you still have to be really careful because right now I'm not really pushing. So it's almost trimmed out. I'm just going to go to the other side so I can actually see what I'm cutting. And that's another important thing. When you guys are cutting stuff out, you want to make sure you can actually see what you're doing with your own eyes instead of just guessing, because once you start guessing is when you start messing up. So let's get to this side, trim this out. Beautiful. Cool. So I think that's about all we need to trim out. So now I'll just head back over to the other side and start on installing it around the antenna. So throw that in the trash. Now what I can do now is heat this thing up a little bit, see what's going to happen. And probably need to grab a pick now, looks like, to pick up the material. And you can use a knife if you want. We just use like a little pick that we just use this little pick because it's not sharp on the end, so there's no chance of really cutting it unless you force it through the vinyl, but at that point it's on you. So we're going to get the pick in here to pick up the film a little bit. And this helps a lot because we taped it off. So as you see, it's not really resisting maybe over here, I don't know what happened here, but it's not really resisting wanting to get picked up off of this tape here. So now what we're going to do is kind of just work it in a little bit. Same thing over here. Work it in. And right now I'm not really pushing on it that hard. I'm kind of just wanting to get that initial tack, and you can go over it and push out absolutely all of the air later. It's just more about seeing how this material is going to react to what you're doing to it by working around this thing. So, and as you see, just by taping it off and then using some proper tools, that it's not really that hard to do something like this. Like, it just takes an extra couple minutes. Let's see right there. It's looking good. Keep going. So we're almost there. It looks like we might need to trim a little bit off this back side, but that's okay. First, you just want to try first. You never want to trim off more than you have to. Okay. Cool, and right there, as you saw, I used my finger just to push down some areas that I thought were going to wrinkle up. So if you want to get a close-up of this, so for example, like right here, you could see it's starting to bunch up a little bit. Same thing with right over here where I'm pointing this at. So in these type of areas, you'd either want to use a harder squeegee, but since this is a pretty small area, I'll just push it down with my finger. I'm almost there anyway. You could use your finger, or you could use a harder squeegee. The reason why I'm not using the squeegee right now is because I have this this soft squeegee right now. So no matter how hard I press, it's not going to get these little wrinkles out. That, I mean, they're not wrinkles. It's about to wrinkle, and that's with that comes with practice and learning how to read the material. So right here, what you kind of want to do is maybe heat it up, or you could just keep trying to work it out, but it looks like it's going to have a little bit of heat to help this out so it can shrink around this antenna. And I probably need to cut it out a little bit more too, but there's nothing wrong with that. Just take your time, and then probably we should pick this up so nobody slips on it. And you guys want to make sure you keep the workspace clean, because one, this backing paper is pretty dangerous. If you step on it, it's pretty slippery. I mean, I can show you guys that this doesn't take like much resistance to slip on, so you want to make sure that that's out of the way when you guys are doing this around your house. And as you can see, you also want to keep the floor clean and the area that you're working on clean, because as you see, I rolled this up on the floor, and if you look at my hands are perfectly clean. So there's no dirt on the floor. You want to make sure that you keep the workspace pretty clean when you're installing some vinyl. So I'm going to heat this up a little bit, see what happens. And I'm probably going to switch to a harder squeegee step up from the red Avery Dennison squeegee to the blue one. Looks like I need to go grab one from the supply cabinet. I don't know where that went. Cool. So use that. So this is another squeegee that we like using, but we can provide this in the bio. This is just a harder one, so there's less flex to it. Whereas the red one, I can bend this a lot more. It's a lot easier to bend. So then this one is, as you can see, it's a lot stiffer, so I can't bend that as much. So, and this is going to be perfect for working out any of this little stuff on this back side of this antenna right here. So it looks like we finished working everything out around the antenna. So we'll cut that out later. Now what we're going to do is start installing this roof. So the first thing we need is, you really can't do this roof without some sort of glove to help you get into these ridges, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. And also, one thing you guys want to do too is install on the tops of these first and then do the ridges later, because all these raised areas are basically already put down anyway because they're a little higher up, so there's more pressure that's applied to them. So let's put our glove on. And then I'm just going to work on doing 1/2 at a time. So right now, it's more like working in quarters since the roof is kind of big. So right now I'm going to focus on this back half that I'm on, the side that I'm on right now. So this is the back right half of the roof. So that's all I'm going to focus on right now. So right now I'm going to do this top part first. I'm just going to install it. And as you can see, the air is escaping. You want to make sure you leave channels for the air to escape. So I'm going to go on this side too. And let's say if I were to install this side and then this side and then leave all this uninstalled, the air will have nowhere to escape. It'll just bunch up in the middle, and then you're probably going to have to start over. So you really want to make sure you start from the middle and work your way out. Or, I mean, you can start from one side and go to the other side, but it typically works better if you just start from the middle and then work your way out. Oh, you can see there's a bubble right there. And you never want to try and squeegee this out. You just kind of get your finger and massage it a little bit, and then it'll go away because the material has air release. Because we're using 3M 2080, so all of their material has air release. So now I kind of want to see where the high spot is. So right here is a high spot too. So I kind of want to. And then right here, guys, if you notice that there's a lot of, there's all these little bumps. That's because right in this section right here is where the roof rail is going to go, where you mount all your stuff for your roof rack. So this is going to end up getting covered up anyway, and all of this was kind of just, I don't even know what it was. It was just from the adhesive being on for too long, or just some marks, general marks. So yeah, it's been on for a while, so you don't need to sweat it. It's getting covered up anyway. The clients don't even really expect you to take these. They don't even know that you take these things off anyway. This is just to make it easier to install. Also, it's a better finished product because you're going to get better coverage everywhere, and you might accidentally slip up or get your knife and cut something too short. And since this roof is white, it's really important to remove as much as you possibly can so that you can just wrap underneath everything and put it back over the top so that you won't be able to see any of the original paint color. It's right here. We're almost done doing this back half. All that I have left to do are these channels now. So I installed all of these ridges. So there's only 3 ridges per side. So there's 6 in total, but I installed these 3 ridges right here. So now what I'm going to do is get my heat gun and set it to a pretty low setting. So if you have just a heat gun from Home Depot or something, they only have one setting. I would just put it on so it can blow, basically the lowest setting it can possibly go to. But for me, I have a heat gun that has a digital temperature reading, and it tells me what heat it's blowing at. So for me, I'm going to set this to about, let's see here, about 450 degrees. And that gets it blowing pretty, actually let's set it to 400 degrees. That gets it blowing kind of hot, but not too hot so that you won't accidentally burn the material when you're working this in. So now I'll just take my glove. This is why the glove's important. You kind of just want to heat it up and then push it in as you're going. There we go. And since I left the air channel for all the air to escape, as you can notice, all of that air is just escaping to the sides. It's not getting collected under the material. There we go, we got one done. Go over to the next one. And you want to make sure you put your cord over your shoulder so that you're not scratching the vehicle. And also, as I mentioned the other day when we started recording this, which is just earlier in the video for you guys, is that you want to make sure that all the clothes that you're wearing, there's no like hard buttons, or you're not wearing any watches or something like that, because you could scratch the client's car. If I'm wearing a belt buckle and I'm leaning up against the car, while I'm moving, it's just gonna scratch the paint up. So you want to be careful about that. So now let's keep going. So you can see the air's escaping to the side because I left the channel on purpose. So now we want to heat this up a little bit. And you don't need to make it hot, guys, it's just warm. The vinyl really can conform very nicely, especially with something like this. It's not too extreme, so it's perfect for making this ridge look good. And what's nice about this roof is it's showing you guys how to do basically everything. You're running into every situation. This roof has ridges and it has a sunroof. So if you guys watch this video from start to finish, you'll basically know how to wrap almost any roof that you come across, really. There's not a roof that you shouldn't be able to wrap. But now, we'll go ahead and do this side now. And you just want to take your time and make sure that you're working in the material nicely. There's no need to rush it. So we got that. And as you can see, the air is escaping because I left a channel for the air to escape. So now, cool, so we're just going to keep doing these ridges, and then as you can see, we already did the middle part over here, and I'll show you guys how to do the middle part right over here once we're done installing both of the ridges, and you guys just want to do them first because you want to have a lot of material to stretch in this ridge so that it won't fail over time. Because if I install all this part and it's already stuck, and then I leave this tiny bit of material here in order to use to stretch it in this recess, it's going to fail. It's going to be more likely to fail over time, even though this isn't that small of a recess, as opposed to me using all of this material to stretch it into that tiny recess. Because on horizontal panels, the likelihood of failure is very minimal compared to in these recess stress points right here. So you want to keep that in mind too. So like I said, we'll keep going. So do that first, and you want to make sure you just warm it through. You don't want to heat it up. You don't want to do anything too crazy. Okay, cool. Do this side now. Okay, cool. So now we're going to do this middle channel, and since I left enough space for the air to escape from, so I left a channel right here, and I don't know if you could see that on camera, but it'll probably pick it up. And right over here too, on this side, I left a little gap. So with that, what I can do is take my squeegee and just start from the middle. And just carefully work it out, and there's no rush. It's better to take your time and do it right the first time than to redo it over and over again. So you got that. And as you see, I'm keeping the squeegee at kind of like a angle the whole time, a 45-degree angle. And we talked about that a little bit in our first video that we made, but keeping it at a 45-degree angle allows the tension, and not the tension, but keeping it at a 45-degree angle allows any of the slack to escape evenly on both sides, as opposed to if I hold the squeegee like this, all of that slack, all that vinyl is being pushed one direction, or if I hold it like this, all of it's being pushed this direction. But if I hold this at an angle, it's being pushed both this direction and this direction, because we held it at a 45, not a 90, not a 180, but, or not a, what am I saying? A 180. I mean, not this 90, and then not this 90, but right in the middle at 45. So let's keep going. What do you say?
0 and 90.
Yeah, 0 and 90. Yeah. So there we go. We squeegeed that part in the middle, and as you see, it looks perfect. So we'll just keep going with the rest of the roof, and then we'll probably just throw up a time lapse for you guys, and then we'll get back to you guys when we're doing the front part with the sunroof. So cool. Everyone? Cool. Hello, everyone. We are almost done installing the roof. Like I said, we'd cut to when... Actually, I lied. I said I'd cut to when we're doing the sunroof, but we never did that. I just ended up doing the whole roof, but I mean, you guys got the idea of it. The sunroof was really easy. I mean, installing it, you just don't install the sunroof, and then everything else in the front's flat, so it was pretty easy. But now we will get to trimming everything. So like, I was working on trimming around this Bluetooth antenna. As you see, since we taped it off, all I'm doing is cutting as close as possible to the gap over here, and I can probably show you guys better if I just use a pointer like this knife. I almost pulled my microphone out. So like is this good, Grayson, right here? So right here, you see I cut as close as possible to where the rubber and the, what is this called? The paint meet, yeah. So I cut right over here as close as possible, and then I'll just continue to do that along all the sides until I'm done. So first, you just want to heat it up a little bit. Oh, actually, you want to unplug it and hand it over here? Okay. Oh, cool. And then these heat guns have rubber feet on the bottom of them, so I don't really have to worry about scratching anything. So I could just place it down right there, and it won't really scratch anything. So let me just grab the extension cord, plug it in. Okay, now we're ready to go. So I will heat this up a little bit. And by heating it up a little bit and pushing it in, I'm making sure that it's all the way in as close as possible before I cut it. It's kind of like tucking it in. So now I will cut it. Let's see here. So probably start from the front. Let's see how much did we cut off the front. Okay, we're over there. So make sure you want to look at what you're doing. Get it at an angle you could see. I probably need to put my knife out a little more. And I'm just using a tip though. This is just so the knife gets out the way so I can just see it better. So I'm not pushing very hard. I'm just barely pushing it. And then if you're unsure of where to cut, it's always just better to cut less than you think so that you can come back and trim off more. So now, I think I cut it all the way around. Cool. So I can just take this tape off. Probably fast. Actually, we can do that later, so you guys don't have to watch that. But nice. So now what we're going to do is just tuck all that in. And take the tape off. Cool, and then we just need to take a little bit more excess off a couple areas that I didn't quite cut. There we go. That should be good. So it didn't cut through right there. So. There we go. I'll do the front too. But you guys just need to concentrate. That's why I'm not really talking right now much, because you just need to concentrate on trimming it. So, because if you trim too much off, there's no going back. You have to either patch it, which you don't want to do, or you just have to redo the whole piece just because of one little part that you didn't want to take your time on. So there we go. It's looking pretty. Pretty good so far. So now what I will do is go to the other side and then show you guys how to trim out a little bit more of this roof. So right here along the door. So this roof, the door kind of meets up the roof instead of the quarter panel. So right over here, we're going to take the opposite side of the door, and we're going to feel it right here. Make sure we angle our knife outward. As you can see, I'm angling the knife outward. And now, as I'm angling my knife outward, I want to make sure that I'm... And as you can see, I barely have the knife in right here. And I have my knife angled outward, away from the edge that I'm cutting on. So I probably need to move back a little bit. And then, but I'll finish up this cut towards the front so that you guys can see it. So as you can see, that's a, oh. As you can see, it's a pretty straight cut. I mean, it's perfectly straight. What am I saying? Almost straight. It's perfectly straight. But all right. So now we're gonna this side and work my way back in over here. And then there's in between the door gap right here. Guys, if you could see that, if you get this, you just kind of need to freehand it. So we'll probably get this blade is wearing out, so. Can snap off a new one. Oh, there you go. Okay, cool. And then you throw that away in the trash before we start so nobody hurts themselves. Cool. So now, what we will do is you have to freehand this, and if Grayson, you want to get over here. So you kind of want to... So I'm doing this with my left so you guys can see it, but I'm a righty, but you can do this with either hand you're comfortable with. So you just freehand that so it's as straight as possible. As you can see, that's pretty straight. So now we'll just finish the cut on this side. So since the blade is sharp, brand new, I'm barely even pressing. And as you can see, the knife's barely in there and angled outward a little bit. Super smooth right there. A little bit left. Perfect. So we'll probably finish cutting this out, and we'll probably cut to the point where I'm going to pull the knifeless off of the roof so you guys can see how that works. So I'll continue cutting and I'll see you guys then. Okay guys, so now we finished trimming everything up and tucking everything in. So now the only thing left to do is to cut out the sunroof. And I left this for the end because I wanted to show you guys how to use knifeless tape and kind of how it all works. So let me get up on this other side right here and make sure I have my knife somewhere over here. Huh. I guess I left my knife over there on the other side. I guess not. It's in my pocket. All right, cool. Never mind. So now what we're gonna do is cut out the sunroof, and since we laid some knifeless tape down, it should be pretty easy. The only thing we do want to do beforehand though is heat. We want to heat the vinyl up where it's laying on top of the knifeless tape and push it down so it can conform really nicely to the tape. And the reason why I put knifeless tape down is to make sure that I don't cut any of the rubber on the inside, but mainly just from sheer laziness. I didn't really want to bother with cutting it. So now what we're going to do is put my gloves on somehow. Jeez. All right, there we go. Put these gloves on and heat this up. So let's see, where's the mic at? There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna heat this up a little bit. Push it down. So I'm heating up the vinyl that's right on top of the knifeless tape. So just heating it up a little bit. Pushing it down. Get up over here. Okay. So I'm just going to swing around to the other side real quick. Just put my heat gun right there. Oh, it's good. This up really quickly. Just want to make sure all the vinyl that you put on top of the knifeless tape is laid down so there could be a clean cut. After I did that, in case you want to grab this. Okay. Now I'll go back on the other side and start the line. So now if you guys remember, when I set this up, I left a pretty decent line of knifeless tape right over here, and since this is glass and this is a stainless steel blade, it's not going to cut anything, especially if I keep it flush as I can with the glass. It's not really going to cut anything. I can kind of pick that up. To expose our line, and as you can see, it didn't scratch anything where I cut, so I cut right along here, and nothing scratched because glass doesn't scratch that easily. So now, what I'm going to do is take my line, I'm going to pinch it right here with my finger, and keep in mind I still have some knifeless tape to go before I actually get to the vinyl. So I'm going to pinch it, take it, and then I'm just going to give it one big nice pull to have this pink line release from the green carrier. So as you see here, the pink line released from the green carrier, and what I'm going to do is once it's in here, once it gets close, what I like to do is put my finger down to hold down this edge, and I pull through. As you can see, it's cutting from underneath. And you kind of want to go, let me take this glove off actually before I keep going. So you want to try to not stop and start so much, but if you do stop, you just want to put your finger down, start the cut again, and then just one smooth motion. I'm just pulling along right there. And then this is cutting the material from underneath, guys, so you don't have to worry about cutting anything on the car. So now I'm going to hop over to the other side to finish it up. So grab the string. There we go, almost there. There we go. So that's it right there. And now, if I pull on this, it should be cut from underneath, as you see here. This whole thing is just going to come right off. I just go to the other side right now and finish peeling everything off. What's up? Oh, my bad, guys. So sorry if the audio got messed up, but now we'll go on this side and okay. Yeah, let's here guys, 1 second, I address this issue real quick. I can use one of these pieces right here, actually. There you go. 1 second, guys, I'm just taping up the mic real quick. Let's see here. Cool. How's that, Grayson? Is it still doing it?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, so let me finish stripping this off the sunroof. Cool. And as you see, I cut out the whole sunroof area without even using a knife with this knifeless tape, which is a really nice product. So now as you see, it already started pulling away over here, but so I want to show you guys this. So now there's two parts that you need to make sure you remove. So there is this part right here, which was on the outside of the line, which is already exposed from the vinyl. So if you look at that, we can just take that off. It comes off pretty easy. And now there's the inside part, which was on the inside of the line. And you guys need to make sure you remove this, or else the vinyl is not going to stick down to what you want it to stick down to. So you basically just pull it and it comes off from underneath the surface. Hopefully we can do this without it breaking. One piece. Cool. So I removed all the excess material from the knifeless tape, and you just throw this away. And then the last step is just to tuck it in. Oh, oopsies. Okay. Do you know how to open this?
Yeah, dude.
Could you open it? So it'd probably be easier, guys, if we open this up so that we could just tuck everything in.
I mean, it's going to cover this whole part.
No, I can figure it out. I just need to do the front first. Let me open the car. Nice. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So now, there we go. So I say we're going to resume what we were doing. So we're going to resume what we were doing. And since we cut it with the knifeless tape, the only area that's kind of jaggedy right now is where it started and stopped, but we're going to fix that before we finish up the roof. So as you can see, the cut is pretty straight, and since this is in the sunroof area, there doesn't have to be, I mean, it's kind of hard to get 100% coverage, but this just makes it easier to tuck in. So just keep going around here. Cool. I'll fix this up real quick. So I just need to take off this excess material. Got a little more excess right here. Cool. So now I'll just go over to the other side. And just finish tucking this in for you guys so that we can get onto the final step, which is post-heating. So just keep going. I'm pushing it with my finger first. I mean, you could use a finger or a squeegee. I don't know why I was using a squeegee before. It's easier with the finger. It's getting kind of hot in here. As you can see, I left a sweat mark over there with my arm. Our AC broke, so it's the weekend. They couldn't come around to fixing it until the weekday, obviously, but that's why we started in the morning.
What does it say on the wall? What is it on the wall?
What's what on the wall?
What does it say? What's the temperature?
Oh, it's 85 but that's by the door. Over here it's probably more like 80. But that's why we started in the morning, and it does take us a little longer to do these if we're recording for you guys, but we started at 11:30-ish, and it's
like 2:30.
2:30 right now, yeah. So it just takes a little longer. Usually a roof wrap would take us an hour and a half to 2 hours, but with the recording it takes us a little longer. Like right now it's 3 hours, so it takes a while to explain to you guys how to do it the right way. So now that should be all done. Now all we need to do is start post heating, and I'm gonna go grab my heat gun over here, grab my thermometer, and the thermometer is only really for the edges. You don't need to use it for the whole panel, but okay. Cool, so now we'll start post heating. I have my heat gun. I'm gonna set it to 1,000 degrees probably. And the temperature isn't, the vinyl's never gonna get that hot, but it's just to make it go by quicker. So, set this up. Put it over my shoulder so I don't scratch the car. Now I need to turn on the thermometer. My bad, guys. And sorry for the beeping, but there you go. And it's really important to heat up everything. So you see if you missed a spot, like you see right here, I'm heating up a few of these areas and a few little places where I didn't install all the way. They're coming up, so they're popping up, so you just kind of want to make sure that stays down. Looking good. We're heating up the whole panel to make sure everything's installed here. That's the most important part, so that the customer doesn't come back. So right here, here's a perfect example of a place I forgot to install. So if Grayson wants to come over here and look at this. So like I heated up this area right here. This is on the flat part. So there's no, so this area right here is on the flat part. So I know that there's no really risk of it pulling up, but I just didn't install it. So when I put the heat on it, you'll see how it kind of swells up. That's because when air gets heated up, it expands. So that's why we heat up the panel, so that any air that's trapped underneath the material is going to expand. So all we're going to do is just rub this out with our finger, because there's air release. And then also there's this tool right here is just a pen with a needle in it. You don't really want to, you want to avoid using this as much as possible, but the reason why we use this pen with a needle instead of the knife is it's a super fine tip compared to the knife tip, which is, let me see where the knife is. Huh. Interesting. Well, I'll show you guys that in a little bit. so we got that out. And so the difference between the knife and the needle is quite large. So this is the knife tip, and if I were to poke a hole through the material with this, you could end up accidentally going too far and you create a way bigger cut, as opposed to this needle, which is basically just the tip, the very point of the knife. It's probably even thinner than the point of the knife. And you want to be careful with this. I've accidentally poked myself hundreds of times. So now what I'm going to do is I finished post heating up this side. I'm going to head over to the other side to finish this up, and then once you're done post heating it, you're pretty much done, unless you have to put anything back that you removed. But in this case, we're going to do that at the end, and then Grayson's probably going to throw in some after footage of the roof while I'm putting it back together. So they're just going to skip over the part where I'm putting everything back together. I mean, it's just screws in. It's pretty, it depends on what car you have, so not everybody has this car. So I'm going to keep going. I'm just hitting everything with a little bit of heat so that I can see if everything went down correctly. And like I said, you want to focus on these edges, like inside here in the sunroof, and make sure everything stays down nice and tidy. Now all I have left to do is heat up the front side. There we go. So that's it. That's how to wrap a roof on a car. What model is this?
2008 Grand Cherokee.
Grand Cherokee what?
Laredo.
Laredo. Nice. So this is how to wrap a Jeep on how to wrap the roof on a Jeep of a 2008 Grand Cherokee Laredo. Nice. So as I'm putting all the stuff back on, we're just gonna talk to you guys while Grayson gets some after shots of everything. But yeah. Here. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. And just keep the... Yeah, while I'm putting everything back, you just clip the... While I'm putting everything back on the car, you could just have me talking if you want, or you can put whatever. I'm just going to keep talking. So, yeah, but that was a nice project. Just going to get everything back on here now. I wonder where I put the screws at. Probably in the door, yes, in the door. And these are T30s, I believe. T30s. Come over here to my snap-on Torx screwdrivers and wrenches, and I found it. So we're gonna find the screws now. Nice. Get up in here. And make sure you show how perfect the corners are and stuff. Because that's a big point right there. Man, these racks look like crap now.
Oh. What if we just ask them to? What if I just text them to, hey, do you want these back on?
Well, they have to, or else there's gonna be water that gets in the car.
Oh, there's.
It's a hole.
You want to see something funny?
Huh. If he says something about it, we could just put some.
What's a chrome wrap? Your smart car.
That's gonna be expensive.
That's what I was gonna say.
That's pretty hard.
Think about the content for that though. You can make a whole YouTube video just around the fact that we're wrapping a smart car.
Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. Oh man, I don't know why I put the screws in, because this washer goes from underneath. Oopsie. So nice. I need to remove these now. Put this underneath.